LTD guitars. I've been playing them since I was 13 years old because my favorite band Metallica played ESPs, and that's all I needed to know. But what I didn't know was how well some of these Korean-made LTDs were going to age, like a fine wine. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified every time a new video drops. This is Trash to Thrash. For more than 20 years, I've been obsessed with guitars. From playing them, to working on them, to buying and collecting them, I've built quite the collection of awesome custom guitars. This season, I'll be rebuilding guitars sent in by fans of the show. I'll be rebuilding 14 guitars over 14 weeks, each with a unique and interesting backstory. I'll be refinishing, refretting, rewiring, whatever it takes to make these things into the guitars of their dreams. This is Trash to Thrash. Hello everybody, welcome back to Trash to Thrash. I'm your host, Mark Murray, and today we're going to be decking out a 1998 ESP LTD M-100 that was made in Korea. Some of these Korean-made LTDs are over 20 years old now, and like the Japanese Jacksons of the 90s, they're some of my favorite guitars ever built. I didn't have a cool metal guitar when I started playing. I had a Squier Stratocaster Bullet, and eventually I got a nice Korean-made Epiphone Les Paul, which I still have and I love that guitar, but the Les Paul wasn't right for me. I wanted to shred. I needed something more metal. Well, in 1997, the first batch of LTDs landed here at my local guitar shop, World Music, in Simi Valley. I remember walking in and seeing them, and they were something else. My local shop was more of a traditional shop, so there was a lot of Strats and Les Pauls. And they had some Jacksons. They had a few fluorescent colored flame top Rhodes and Kellys, but those LTDs stood out. The line that they got in were all black guitars, and they had the Explorer, the V250, and the M-100. And I got my pick. At the time, I was obsessed with Metallica and Kirk Hammett, and I wanted something with the Floyd Rose. So I went with the M-100. But looking back, those other two are worth way more, so I almost wish I would have gone with one of the other ones. But getting the experience early on with the Floyd Rose is what I really needed to get me to where I wanted to be on guitar. Metallica started using ESP guitars in the late 80s, right before they recorded the And Justice for All album. Kirk Hammett and James Hetfield have been playing ESPs for over 30 years now, and they've had a ton of different signature models through them. I mean, they do play Gibsons and Jacksons and Ken Lawrence guitars from time to time, but ESP is their go-to main sponsor. James Hetfield's mostly known for playing Explorers. His first few ESPs were MX220s in white, then he got a black MX220, and then he's got a bunch of different variations of the Explorer, and quite a few other signature models. The Grinch, the Truckster, the Iron Cross, the Vulture, and the Snakebite. Not to mention the old 90s JH1 and JH2 Flying Vs. Kirk Hammett, on the other hand, mainly has played one body shape the whole time he's been with ESP, which is the Mirage body shape or the M body. You can see ESP M2s or M100s all have the same body shape, and it comes from the old ESP Mirage shape from the 80s. Although Kirk mainly plays the M body shape, the KH2, he also has the KH1 Flying V as a signature and the KH3 Les Paul style signature, as well as a very rarely seen KH4, which is just a KH2 with a pickguard slapped on top. When I bought my first LTD, it was because Kirk Hammett played that M series. He had the humbuckers and the Floyd Rose, and that was perfect for what I wanted. The guitar we're going to be looking at today is one I found on Reverb, and when I go into guitar buying mode, I'm a madman on a mission. I'm on eBay, Reverb, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist all day long looking for good deals, and this is one of the ones I found. Here's the actual listing of the guitar that I found on Reverb. Looking at it, it looks great. You could see it's missing the nut. The fretboard looks to be in good conditions, so do the frets. It doesn't have any pickups in it, but does have the factory bridge, which I'm going to be swapping out for a Floyd Rose. It was located in a pawn shop in Dayton, Ohio, and they put up some great photos of it. You can see it looks like it's in great condition. There's no cracks here at the neck heel. This is exactly the kind of guitar I look for when starting a new project. The description says that the neck seems straight and adjustable, body has some normal play wear on it, the frets even seem good. It's missing the nut and one of the screws from the licensed Floyd Rose bridge, and you could see there were 17 people watching it. It had received 2 offers and 320 views, and it had been up for 11 months. When it comes to a good deal in the used market, 11 months is eternity. I'm shocked no one's bought this guitar already. So now the guitar has arrived at the shop, and I've handed it off to my assistant Ryan, who's going to disassemble it, package up the parts, what little parts are actually on it, and now that the guitar is all disassembled, he's going to take it outside and start sanding on it. The guitar was actually in great condition and didn't have any chips or dents, so from here, it's ready for paint. Thanks, Ryan. Now in the paint booth, The first color I'm spraying on is a fluorescent green, the same one I used for my Alien Blood and the same one I used on the Washburn Flying V a couple weeks back. And then I came back and added the yellow paint after I did the green. I actually ended up doing 3 coats of the green and yellow because I wanted to build up a lot of paint so that the crackle can react to it nicely. To get a good burst, I'm just trying to add it real slow and even. And of course, when you're doing a finish like this, you have to have the headstock matching. But with the headstock, I start with the yellow and then add the green on the edges after because it's a lot easier to come in and hit the edges than it is to try to get a fine line in the middle of the small headstock. Regular spray cans are just not designed to make such a fine line. And that looks pretty good. It's a nice and even straight edge across both sides. Now, I never told you what the whole plan for this guitar is, but at this point I think most of you could figure it out. We're doing crackle on this one. So a green to yellow burst with black crackle over it. And for this guitar I did a little bit of an experiment. I've seen some other painters shoot air onto the guitar after applying the crackle paint to help it dry quicker and create a bigger crack pattern. It's only about 5 to 10 psi from an air compressor. And while it didn't really make bigger cracks, it did create a really cool crack pattern. But there were a few spots that didn't crackle as much as I liked, so since I'm experimenting, I gave it a second coat of crackle paint, which it says you can do on the side of the can. When in doubt, follow the manufacturer's directions. After the second coat, I hit it with some more air, and it actually came out with a really cool crackle pattern here. And of course, what you do to the body, you also do to the headstock, so crackle on the headstock. Over my teenage years, I owned a couple LTDs, the M-100 and EX50. Then I bought another M-100 that was made in Indonesia, and I picked up an LTD base. I noticed there was a big difference though between the M-100 I got in 2004 that was made in Indonesia versus the 1998 Korean built one I had. The quality and the feel was completely different. The Korean one blew the Indonesian one out of the water. At the time I didn't understand why there would be such a difference in the feel when it's the same brand and it's the same model guitar. But what I found out later was that the Korean LTDs are just built with better craftsmanship than the ones from other countries. Japanese Jacksons and Korean-made LTDs are my favorite candidates for rebuilds because they have excellent bodies and necks. Once you replace the electronics and the bridge, you have a great instrument. For years I actually switched over and was playing Jacksons, playing the 90s Dinkies made in Japan, and they're great guitars. But over the last couple years I've recently rediscovered the Korean LTDs, and my arsenal is full of them now. I think I have 6 in my collection, and it's not just the Korean LTDs that are awesome. I have a Korean Epiphone Les Paul that's amazing, and a 1992 Korean Stratocaster that's really good too. Out here in the shop, I have another 6 LTDs made in Korea that you guys are going to see on future episodes of the show. This episode of Trash to Thrash is sponsored by FU Tone. FU Tone makes the best Floyd upgrades out there. If you play a guitar with a Floyd Rose, you need FU Tone. They make noiseless springs, they make big brass blocks to give you more sustain and better tone out of your Floyd Rose, stainless steel and titanium hardware upgrades. They make a ton of stuff. Go check out their website. The link is down in the description below. I have a few guitars fully decked out with FU Tone stuff. The big block, the noiseless springs, the titanium saddle inserts, the stainless steel hardware upgrade. I love this company. They've got great customer service. Adam and his team are the best, and I strongly urge you to check them out. Check out the link down in the description below. Well, not only that, I'm going to be giving you guys a chance to win a set of noiseless springs and a brass block so you can upgrade your Floyd. Do you want more sustain? Do you want less ringing out from the cheap springs that come stock with the guitar? Well, in February for the next giveaway, we're going to be adding the FU Tone stuff to the pile. So not only are you going to be getting the FU Tone springs and the big block, you'll also be getting the SoCal pedal board, the Guitar Guts signature kill boost pedal, a set of EMG pickups, a Lundgren Heaven 77 pickup, which is my #1 favorite EVH style pickup, and a Guitar Guts signature Iron Age kill switch. All you have to do to enter is join the CEO tier of my Patreon. It's $10 a month. It supports the channel, supports Trash to Thrash and Guitar Guts. Or if you don't have $10 a month, leave a comment down below. If you leave a comment on this video or the previous 3 videos, so that's episodes 30, 31, 32, and 33, I'm going to be randomly selecting some of the comments from each one of those videos and putting them into the big drawing. So if you haven't already, you probably want to go back and comment on those last 3 videos as well. Thanks so much to FU Tone for sponsoring this episode, and now go click the link down below to their website and get shopping. Now the crackle's dried for a few days, and it's time to put the logo onto the headstock. The LTD logo has a shadow behind it that's in a contrasting color, so For this logo, we're going to do a black LTD logo with a neon green shadow behind it. I used transfer tape to transfer the black part of the logo onto the headstock. And of course, as you can see, I have another LTD headstock right next to it, so I could see the exact placement and spacing for the logo. Instead of using transfer tape for the green accents of the logo, I'm just using an X-Acto blade to lift them up and reset them down on the black part of the logo. It can be a little tricky, but you just have to be patient and take your time. And I think this looks really good. I kind of debated and I asked my Instagram audience if I should do a green accent or a yellow accent on a black logo, or maybe do a yellow logo with a black accent or a green logo with a black accent. But I think we nailed it. Black with the green accent looks the best. The original plan for this finish was actually going to go on a different guitar. I have another LTD M-100 that we filled in the neck pickup on. It didn't have a middle pickup, so after we filled in the neck pickup cavity, it was a single humbucker death metal machine. But the paint job did not come out how I planned. I wasn't happy with it, so that one got sanded, and I came in and I grabbed this M100 and did the exact same paint job again. This time, I think I nailed it. And don't worry, you're going to see that single humbucker M100 coming up on a future episode of Trash to Thrash, along with my paint job fail. Now this guitar will visit the paint booth one last time for some clear coat. But before I spray, I got to do a little bit of prep, which I never show you guys. Before I spray, I always hit the guitar with some air from the air compressor. Then I wipe it down with a tack cloth, which is going to take away any more dust that could be left after the air. Then one more time, I come back in and hit it with the air compressor real light. Dust is your enemy while spraying. Dust and bugs. Bugs are the worst because the bug will land on the guitar and then start walking across your finish. It's always a good idea to have a pair of tweezers nearby just in case that happens. For the clear on this guitar, I'm using my favorite clear coat product at the moment, Spray Max Glamour High Gloss in an aerosol can. It's a 2K in a can that you shake up, press a button to activate the second chemical, and then you shake it again for another 2 minutes so that all the chemicals mix together. It's a true 2-part polyurethane clear coat finish in a spray can. And look at that headstock. That looks awesome so far. When crackle paint dries, it tends to have a matte finish, but after spraying the clear coat on, we can see what it's going to look like when it's all done. A huge way to help out the show is for you to go share it with your social media friends. So take a screenshot, post something in your story, do something to tell people. Go check out Trash to Thrash, this guy rebuilds guitars. Tell your friends who play guitar, direct them straight to it, guitarguts.tv. That's the link directly to my YouTube channel, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you guys for your continued support. The clear coat dried crystal clear and beautiful. The colors are vibrant, and I really like the texture that the crackle has through the clear coat. With most crackle guitars, I would sand it level, spray more clear, and then sand it level and polish it for a mirror finish. But there's something about these colors, the green and yellow, that I really like this textured finish. It almost resembles an alligator or a lizard or something. And I gotta tell you guys, this guitar had one of the weirdest inspiration for the colors. I got the idea to do these colors based on one of my childhood stuffed animals. I actually have a small box of some of my childhood toys, and I was recently going through it to see if there's anything my 1-year-old son can play with, or that I could put out there with my retro gaming collection. Well, I found Splashy. Splashy was my old alligator that I got when I was 3 or 4 years old. I've actually had the idea for a couple years to do something like Splashy, and then after seeing him recently, I knew I had to do something soon about it. I've since given Splashy to my son Wolf, and he loves it. And I gotta admit, I love the way this finish came out. This thing is right up my alley and could possibly turn out to be one of my favorite builds I've ever done. Alright, now we're going over to the drill press and we're gonna do some kill switch prep. I used to like to do this drilling before I did the finish, just to make sure I don't scratch the finish or damage it in any way. But with the amount of clear that I put on a guitar like this, that's going to add a bit of thickness to the hole where the kill switch is going to go. I have the same issue where the volume pot's going to go, but that's just a 3/8 inch hole that a reamer can open up. These kill switches require a 5/8 inch hole, and my reamer only goes up to about a 1/2 inch, so for now this is the easier, quicker way for me to do this. For this guitar, we're going to be using a Floyd Rose Original for the bridge, and a set of EMG 81 in the bridge, an 85 in the neck, and this EMG SLV in the middle. I rarely build guitars that have single coil sized pickups, so for this one I wanted to go with EMGs, and the SLV looks like it was the right choice. When I was young, I knew I wanted an ESP and I knew I wanted EMG pickups because that's what Metallica used. The first mod I ever did to a guitar was installing EMGs into my first M100. Me and my dad got the soldering iron out. He's not the best at soldering, but we pulled it off. My dad's a craftsman. He rebuilds classic cars, and that's probably where I got my love for restoring guitars. He was never a soldering expert, and this is one of the fields that I've actually excelled past him and have taught him a few things about it now. I've had that SLV sitting around for a little while on my shelf, and I didn't have a hookup cable for it, so I decided to make one using this braided pickup cable. This is the exact same cable that Seymour Duncan uses. To make this cable easier to install, I'm going to tin the end of the wire. To tin the wire, you just put some solder on it and it'll make it easier to transfer heat to another wire or a contact later. The wire on the inside of the cable is going to be our hot wire, which carries the pickup sound. The braid will be a ground, and then we'll add a power cable. Here you can see I'm tinning the shielding so I can attach a wire for the ground. Now I've cut a piece of black wire and I'm soldering it to the braid. I wouldn't want a shielded cable like that running around the guitar because it could touch the sides of the pots or the output jack or something and short things out, so I'm covering it in heat shrink to keep it insulated. Then I soldered the hot and the black wire from the ground directly to the EMG. There's 3 little prongs on the bottom. One's for hot, one's for ground, and one's for power. For the power, I just soldered on a red wire for now. Now I'll use some heat shrink and cover these up. And that looks nice and clean, and I think that's going to be durable and hold up. I'm almost ready to start routing all the wires and mounting the pickups, but I need a pad or something to hold the middle pickup up since it's going to be direct mounted to the body. The bridge and neck pickup have a pickup ring that are going to hold them up closer to the strings, but I don't want this pickup to be dipped down real low and not get as much output as the bridge and the neck. There was a lot of wires running through this guitar, so I had to open up the holes to be a little bit bigger that run inside the guitar so that the cables for the pickups can make it all the way to the control cavity. To do this, I use a real long drill bit, so I don't have to have the drill right up against the guitar and I can get a nice angle on it. Some would say you don't need to shield the cavity when you're using EMGs because they're internally grounded, but once you get to the control cavity, the wires are just running loose. They're not running around in shielded, braided wires, so just to be on the safe side, I threw some copper shielding inside this bad boy. I also have the kill switch installed here. Right when it was all coming together, the pickup rings aren't lining up with the stock holes. This happens all the time, this is no big deal. A quick and easy way to fix this is to dip some toothpicks in wood glue and slowly and carefully insert it into the original holes for the pickup rings. Then using a pair of wire cutters or flush cutters, cut them flush to the body. Then let it dry for a day. Now you can see here I have the pickup taped to the body so it's centered and lined up with everything. So now I'm going to use a center punch so my drill bit doesn't wander. Then I come back with the drill and just drill each hole out. You can see I have a ring of tape on the drill bit to let me know when to stop drilling down. It's kind of a depth gauge. It's a great little trick with things like this or when you're drilling the holes on the back of the headstock for the tuners. It's a necessity in a shop to have a shop vac, but it's also really nice to have a lighter duty cordless vacuum for small stuff like this. Now these holes are perfectly lined up. The beast is coming to life. The EMGs look awesome. I love the HSH look here, and the Floyd Rose looks equally deadly. It needs to be intonated still. You can see the saddles are straight across on there. To help intonate it, it's going to be a lot easier if I use one of these plates that you can slide under the Floyd Rose to keep it level, and this plate has a rubber pad on the bottom, so it's not going to damage the surface of the guitar. When I intonate a Floyd Rose that's never been intonated before, I like to set the saddles in about the right positions by looking at another Floyd Rose that's intonated and getting them in the ballpark. And now it's time to string it up, dial in the intonation, and get this thing rocking. Are you guys ready for the reveal? Well, hit that like button right now. Here it is. The Lizard Skin LTD. Maybe I'm partial to LTD M-100s, but I love this thing. I say this every time, but I wish I could keep it. This thing is right up my alley, right there with the Tiger Rhodes. I love the texture and the feel of the guitar. It feels really smooth, but kind of scaly, like if you've ever held a snake, you know what I'm talking about. The green LED of the kill switch matches the guitar beautifully. I went with an Iron Age kill switch here. And the black Floyd Rose is a perfect fit for the EMGs. This is the exact kind of guitar I wish I could have had growing up. But not very many companies would make a guitar that looks like this. So I guess I had to do it. The logo and the headstock turned out great. I'm not afraid to toot my own horn, as they say, because I love this guitar. This thing's awesome. If you agree with me, leave a comment down below and tell me you think it's awesome. If you disagree with me, then get out of here. I don't want to hear it. Alright guys, that's it for this week. What'd you think of the Lizard M-100? Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about that texture. Let me know what you think about HSH guitars. I mean, that's a weird pickup combination. I don't really think I own any myself with that combo. But yeah, I want to hear what you guys think of this thing. So please leave your comments down below and be sure to hit that like button. If you want to buy this guitar, at the time of me filming this, it's still for sale. So there's a link down in the description below to all my stuff, including the Guitar Guts shop, which is at guitarguts.com. There's a link right at the top that says guitars for sale. Click that and it'll bring you right to the place to buy that guitar and a couple others that I have available right now. Huge thanks again to FU-Tone for sponsoring this episode of Trash to Thrash and contributing to the big giveaway next month. If you want to get yourself a set of noiseless springs, a big block, some hardware upgrades for your Floyd Rose, go click the link down in the description or check out fu-tone.com. Again, a quick thank you and shout out to the other sponsors sponsoring this giveaway: SoCal Pedalboards, Iron Age Guitar Accessories, EMG, and Lundgren. If you want to help support Trash to Thrash and Guitar Guts, head on over to my Patreon page. For as little as $1 a month, you can get ad-free versions of this show and all the videos I do. And there's also a package for $10 a month where you can be automatically entered into all the raffles and giveaways I do. I do at least one a month, so you have a chance at winning a guitar or a giant prize package like next month. If you're into 80s and 90s retro gaming, comic books, collectibles, Power Rangers, Pokemon, Simpsons, Spider-Man, all that kind of stuff, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, I love that stuff, and I have a second channel called Guitar Guts Gaming. Links are down in the description below, as well as an Instagram that goes with that. So if you like all that stuff and you want to see me hunting for deals, reviewing games, doing cool old 80s and 90s stuff, then check out Guitar Guts Gaming in the links below. Again, thanks so much for watching, everybody. This has been the Season 2 finale of Trash to Thrash. We're 33 episodes in, and just because it's the end of the season, I'm not taking a break. I'll be back next week with another episode of Trash to Thrash. We're kicking off Season 3 already, so I will see you guys next week. Rock on, my friends.